Hi everybody, this is Angela from Get Women Cycling here in Sunset Park. With Bike Month only a couple of days away, what we wanted to do is start live streaming some of our workshops and demos. And today what we're going to do is look at how to remove a back wheel on a bicycle and then how to install it. Flats are almost always going to happen to you, and one of the biggest issues with flats is removing the back wheel. So we want to see if we can make that a little simpler for you. There's actually, the main trick here is where the chain position is. So what I want you to remember is when you are about to remove your back wheel, to make sure that the chain is positioned in the smallest cog in the back. And we'll take the camera off the tripod and take a closer look at that. But if the chain is in the smallest cog in the back, what that does is remove the derailleur out of the way, and that's going to make the removal of the back wheel a lot easier for you. The other thing that you need to remember is to close the quick release on the brake caliper in this case because it's a road bike, and then also to close the quick release on the wheel properly, and we'll go through that as well. So what I'll do is just take the camera off this tripod and see if we can get a closer look at the bicycle as it's set up right now. Hold on. Cool. All right. So here is the quick release for the wheel. And what I want you to notice here is the lever is pointed in between these two bars of the frame. And when we put the wheel back, we want to make sure that we put the quick release lever in this position. And we'll talk about why momentarily. And the other thing that we want to mention is, here we go, this is the brake caliper. This is a road bike, so depending on if you have a mountain bike or cross bike, this brake system will be different. And we'll have to address those in another video or through some notes. But what you need to look at here is this lever. Let me see if I can grab it. This lever here is called a quick release, and right now it's closed, which means that the brake pads are going to be closest to the rim. When you remove the rear wheel, we want to make sure that this brake release is open, and thereby giving us a little bit more wiggle room, space here to take the wheel out. So the brake quick release is now open, so we have a greater spacing here. This is the wheel quick release, which we're going to open now, but we want to remember this position for when we close it. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. There we go. And then probably the most thing that you should remember moving forward is the position again of this chain, which is in the smallest cog of this cassette here. I don't know which is the best angle to show you that. So keep it on the smallest one, or the smallest cog, the one that's furthest away from the center of the bike frame. Alright, so now I'll put the camera back in the tripod and remove the wheel. Let's see. Get this in there. Bear with me. All right. Okay, great. So we open that quick release on the wheel, and we open the brake quick release, and the chain is in the proper position. So now really what you just want to do is press down on the frame and lift up from the skewer of the quick release, and the wheel pops right out. Sometimes it gets caught up in the brake pads, and in that case you need to lift up from the inner rim, and you can just pound it out. In this case it came out quite nicely. And the only thing that you need to remember at this point is to lift up the chain and then remove the wheel entirely. Now probably what's more challenging and intimidating is putting the wheel back in. And again, what we need to remember is to line up that chain properly. And this is going to be easy because we know that we set it to sit in that smaller cog. And so we place it back there on the small cog. Make sure it's center in the frame. And then with a little force, just push it back into that frame drop out there. Now the wheel is seated properly in the frame, and we can make sure that it is even between the seat stays here, and make sure it's even between the chain stays here. And once that's looking good, you just then hold the one side of the quick release and tighten with the other. Let's see. And you just tighten it enough that you feel enough tension there. And with the palm of your hand, just squeeze it back in so that it's positioned again between the two horizontal and vertical bars of the frame. The only thing left to do here now is to close that brake quick release, which we opened before, and that was that lever in the caliper. That's closed. And one last check is to spin the pedals and watch the motion of the wheel to make sure that it's not wobbling and it's looking good. Listen for any rubbing on the brake pads. And this actually sounds good and it looks good. If you hear rubbing on the brake pads that you didn't hear before, or if the wheel seems like it's wobbling, it's probably not seated correctly in the dropouts of this frame. So you might just want to go through that process again, loosen the quick release on the wheel and on the brakes, and then pull it out and then sit it back in again a little tighter. And that's it. I mean, that's as simple as that. So there's 3 points. 1, make sure that the chain is in the lower or the smaller cog in the back. Make sure that you open the quick release on the brake, and then make sure that you open the quick release from the wheel. And then when you put it back in, again, make sure that everything is closed. And if it isn't, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time braking. So just go back and check it a couple of times before you go out and roll. Thanks for watching, and don't forget today's the Bike Expo and tomorrow's the Bike Expo. At 6 o'clock, We Bike and Black Girls Do Bike are giving a workshop on flat fix, so make sure you check them out if you're there, and look for us tomorrow. Okay, I hope you're good. Bye.